Now with this month's Incident Desk, here are Superintendent David Hatcher and Detective Constable Jackie Hames.
First, the theft of £20 which resulted in a murder inquiry. David Boss was a family man who'd lived in the same house in Walthamstow, East London for the past 16 years. Every other week, a charity worker collecting for cancer research called at David's home in Chelmsford Road. It's Monday, 25th of November.
Hello, John, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
Fine. Afraid you'll have to give me some change. I've only got a 20-quid note.
Yeah, no problem. I'll see what I can do for you.
Oi!
Oi! What do you think you're doing?
During the attack, David suffered severe head injuries. He died 2.5 weeks later. 40 minutes earlier, a man who looked like his attacker was seen in this newsagent's just round the corner from David's house. He asked the cashier for half an ounce of tobacco, saying he'd pay later. When she refused, he started kicking boxes around and only left when he thought she was calling the police. He's 45 to 55, about 5'9", with a stocky build and dirty, straggly hair. He was scruffy and she thought he had a slight Irish accent. A woman remembers seeing a similar-looking man in the area the next day. That's November the 26th.
Have you got £2 for a packet of cigarettes?
I'm sorry, all I have is my keys in my pocket. I don't even carry them. Sorry.
Could it have been the same person? Did he approach you? If you do recognise the man in the photo fit or know anything at all about the tragic death of David Boss, please ring us now.
While many of us were watching Sue Cook on the Children in Need appeal, two men in Torquay were busy robbing the main post office in the High Street. About 8:10 on the evening of Friday the 22nd of November, two men in their 30s broke in, terrifying staff with sawn-off shotguns. Their victims were tied up with these white plastic things, normally used by garages. This homemade Winceyette pillowcase was put over one man's head. They escaped with a very large sum of money in this Fiat Uno, stolen from one of their victims, and they dumped it 4 miles away at King's Kerswell. One of the robbers wore a yellow hard hat. This triangular design and ribbing on the top make it quite unusual. Perhaps you know this man. He was one of two men acting suspiciously at the back of the post office a few days before the robbery. He's in his late 30s, around 5'10", and was also wearing a yellow hard hat. If you think you can help in any way, we need to hear from you. A very large reward is being offered.
In Hampshire, a schoolgirl was raped as she finished her paper round. It happened in Old Basing, in the corridor of this block of flats in Bellevue Road. It was about 8:20 in the morning on Friday the 3rd of January. Her attacker is 30 to 40, 5'8" to 5'10", with short dark hair swept back over his ears. He was wearing a black dark-rimmed glasses, dark blue jeans and a dark top, possibly a jumper. This is a terrible offence, so if you recognise him, we'd like to hear from you. We also need to find the driver of a maroon cab like this, or indeed its passengers, seen in the area at around the same time. That's between 8 and 8:30 on January the 3rd. You may unwittingly hold the clue to this case. If you do know who this man is, or can help with any of our other Incident Desk cases, please call now.
The number, as always, 081 811 8181, 081 811 8181.
Well, now with our file of Incident Desk cases this month, here again are Detective Constable Jackie Hames and Superintendent David Hatcher.
Tonight we need your help to find this man. He attacked a young woman in Brixton on February the 18th. She was walking along Effra Road on her way to work when he forced her off the pavement at knife point into this house. She was sexually assaulted and her throat was cut. Doctors say she's lucky to be alive. Her attacker wore a very distinctive navy blue tracksuit like this, with the word Hummel in yellow. He's 5'10" to 6 foot, slim build with what's known as a flat top haircut. He also took this, a rare imitation Chanel scarf, so rare there are only 4 in the country, and also these distinctive ankle boots. If you recognise this man, or were in Brixton that Tuesday rush hour, that's the 18th of February, and remember anything, please do call.
And next to the Netherlands, where Dutch police need your help to solve a murder. On the 10th of February, a man's body was discovered in the Heemradsdingel, a street of the centre of Rotterdam. Following information from national publicity, police now believe he's British, but have been unable to identify him. This is an artist's impression. He's thought to be between 20 and 30, 5'11" with a medium build. He had 5 false front teeth and a scar on his left eyebrow. He was wearing this brown jacket made by Winch, a red short-sleeved t-shirt, Levi jeans and these brown shoes. Perhaps the most distinctive item are these patterned socks. If you think you know who he is, please ring now.
On Tuesday the 25th of February, an armed robber held up a member of staff at Howard's Jewellers in the village of Broadway in Worcestershire. He got away with a large amount of jewellery in this Green Rover 213 saloon car driven by an accomplice. The car was found abandoned 3 miles away in this pub car park. It had been stolen last October from Watchet in Somerset. Perhaps you recognise the robber. He's in his late 40s, about 5'6", with thinning ginger to light brown hair, and he had a very blotchy face. He may have been wearing this coat, which was found later nearby. The driver was very much younger, around 25, with short dark hair and a chubby face. Does he still have that moustache? If you recognise either of the men, please call.
Do you recognise this? It could be the vital clue in a rape inquiry in Hemel Hempstead. It was worn by the attacker and has quite a distinctive motif, possibly a semicircle with teardrops or splashes and a yellow flash across the centre. Colleagues haven't been able to find one like it. The attack took place on Wednesday the 18th of December last year. The attacker is in his early 20s, about 5'10", with short mousy coloured hair, and he had a gold Tudor rose stud earring in his left ear. If you do know who he is or can help with any of our incident test cases, we need to hear from you urgently.
There's the number 081 811 8181, 081 811 8181.
Let's now go to Incident Desk. Here to take us through the cases, Detective Constable Jackie Hames and Superintendent David Hatcher.
First, a case that's close to my own heart. Last year, there were about 16,000 attacks on police officers in England and Wales. Tonight, we're going to tell you about one of the worst. The victim was Detective Constable Jim Morrison. Jackie Hames takes up the story.
It happened on one of the days leading up to Christmas, here in London's Covent Garden. If you were late night shopping or in one of the nearby cafes, during the evening of Friday the 13th of December, you might have seen something.
How you doing then, Ron?
No worries, mate. You?
Jim had finished work and was having a drink in his local, the Nell Gwyn in Covent Garden.
Well, I must away.
Don't you have another drink?
No, can't. I'm running late. Got to get home. See you soon.
No worries.
We now know Jim didn't go home immediately, but what did he do in the next 45 minutes? At 10:20, he was seen struggling with a handbag thief, not far from the pub. Two men leaving their sports club at the same time remembered Jim chasing after the man.
Stop! Back off! Back off!
At the end of the alley, they turned left into Tavistock Street. The witnesses thought the man was of North African appearance, between 27 and 30 and around 5'10". He was wearing a dark brown leather bomber jacket. Jim chased the man through Covent Garden into the Aldwych. Jim was fatally stabbed. The killer left behind this handbag, which we now know was stolen from the Blue Post pub in Tottenham Court Road earlier that evening. We've traced the owner, but there are 3 things inside which don't belong to her. Perhaps they were stolen from you that evening. This fake Louis Vuitton makeup bag, a Ventolin inhaler, and a contact lens case. If they're yours, or you can help in any way, do please ring. This makeup was also found. It's been well used and could have been dropped from the Louis Vuitton bag. So if you do recognise anything at all, the number to ring is 071 230 2301, and that's straight through to New Scotland Yard. Or of course you can ring the programme direct.
And next, do you recognise this cap? It's got a distinctive tiger motif on the front and was worn by an armed robber in Norwich. The attack took place on March the 11th when a Securicor guard was held up outside the British Gas showroom in the town centre. The robber made his getaway on this stolen Honda 250cc motorcycle before he abandoned it by these garages in Trinity Street. He's described as around 24, 5'8" and slim build. So if you think you know who he is, please call.
If you recognise this man, you could help Sussex police catch a rapist. It happened on Wednesday the 4th of December in Hove. A music student was walking home from the Floral Clock area in Salisbury Road when a man forced her down an alleyway. He threatened to kill her and then raped her. Too scared to move, she waited in the alleyway until daylight before reporting her ordeal. The man has brown hair, is about 5'9" and is in his late 20s to early 30s. He's a smoker and had a northeast accent. So if you know where he is now, please call.
Can you help the police in Blackpool find this man? He could help solve an armed robbery. On the 14th of January, he bought this car from a local garage. Later that day, it was used in a robbery at North West Pawnbrokers in the town centre. He's in his late 20s, about 5'6", and has a strong Liverpool accent. If you do know who he is, or can help in any way with any of our incident desk cases, please call.
And this is the number, 081 811 8181. That's 081 811 8181.
Let's go now for this month's incident desk. Here are Detective Constable Jackie Hames and Superintendent David Hatcher.
First tonight, a particularly tragic case. 25-year-old Barry Bradley was murdered for shouting at a motorist. It happened in Kingsley Road, Hounslow on Friday the 31st of January. Just before midnight, Barry and his fiancée left an Indian restaurant. As they crossed over the road, a speeding car almost hit them. Barry shouted at the driver, who did a U-turn and came back towards them. He opened the window and Barry leant into the car. Moments later, he collapsed in the street. Barry had been stabbed, and later that night he died in hospital. The car was a dark-coloured two-door hatchback. The driver was alone and looked Asian. He was about 5'8" tall, in his early 20s, with black straight hair. He had wispy hair on his jawline and cheeks, with a thin moustache, and was well-spoken. Buses run regularly down Kingsley Road, even at midnight, and Hounslow East Tube Station is nearby, so we feel sure somebody must have seen something. If you recognise the man, or can help in any way, please call. Remember, it was murder and there is a reward.
Crawley police need your help to catch a jewel thief. He'd made a poor attempt to disguise himself with boot polish and was chased by police from the shop. On Wednesday the 1st of April, the alarm went off at this jeweller's and police arrived to see a man on the roof. He ran off and in his haste dropped this bag. Do you recognise it, or do you know who used it? He's white, in his mid-20s and about 5'11".
And finally, how two quick-thinking counter assistants stopped an armed robbery at a post office. On Tuesday the 25th of February at 3:20, a man went into Heath Hayes post office in Cannock. He was armed, and seconds after demanding money, he fired a shot at the assistants. Luckily, neither was injured as the bullet hit the glass security screen. He dived to the floor and managed to press the panic button. The man then ran off and got into this stolen Vauxhall Cavalier, which was later found abandoned 3/4 of a mile away in Hill Street. We believe this man is the robber. He was seen earlier in the day outside the post office in the red Cavalier. He's in his late 20s and has thick brown hair with prominent dark eyebrows. It's likely he was also responsible for a series of house burglaries committed earlier that day in the West Midlands area. If you can help on this, or any of our other incident desk cases, please call.
Here's the number.
And the number, as ever, 081 811 8181. That's 0811 8181.
Now for this month's incident desk, here are Jackie Hames and David Hatcher.
First on incident desk, a crime we hear little about, male rape. Barely reported, but in tonight's case, the victim had the courage to go to the police. Around 11 p.m. on Friday the 8th of May, the victim was attacked by these two men on the London Underground. We think they got on the tube at London Bridge. The victim managed to escape when the train stopped at the Angel. The two men stayed on. Do you recognise them? This man's in his late 20s, about 5'7". He had closely shaved dark hair and had an earring in his left ear. He wore a black donkey jacket and dark polo neck jumper, black tracksuit bottoms and boots. The second man's in his early 30s, about 6 foot, with spiky reddish hair. He also had a moustache and a goatee beard. He wore a khaki coat, a tight-fitting grey t-shirt, washed-out blue jeans and baseball boots. One of the men referred to the other as George, and both had London accents. If you do know them, please do call.
Carl Crooks was 10. He died minutes after being hit by a car only yards from his home. It happened on a Sunday evening, the 17th of November, in Collyhurst, Manchester, at around 6:20. Carl was crossing the 664 Rochdale Road between the junction of Whitley Road and Osborne Street when he was hit by a car believed to be travelling towards Manchester city centre. Witnesses saw two men in the car. They stopped, reversed, turned the headlights off and sped away. We now know from forensics that while the car was a white Ford Fiesta manufactured between 1976 and 1983, a piece of trim was partly detached and a headlamp broken on the driver's side. Witnesses remember a rear spoiler, square dowel headlights and a 7 and a V in the registration. Perhaps more importantly, they remember that the men in the car were in their mid to late 20s. The passenger's hair was dark and the driver's was lighter with blondish streaks. And there are other people who may be able to help. A dark-coloured Sierra or Granada was in the area at the time. The driver and possibly the passengers may have seen something. If you can help in any way, please do call, and perhaps someone involved may have the courage to phone in tonight.
Finally, two robberies which we believe are linked. On Saturday the 4th of April, thieves broke into a house in Epsom, Surrey and stole paintings, antiques and, among other things, documents. Now, these gave details of a relative's jewellery along with her address. She lived in Ammanford, South Wales. A month later, on Wednesday the 6th of May, this woman called at her house. There was a for sale sign outside and the woman persuaded the owner to show her round despite not having an appointment. Minutes later, the owner let in two men who the woman claimed were her husband and brother. They threatened her with a knife, tied her up and ransacked the house. Do you recognise the woman? She's in her early 30s and about 5'5". She has distinctive green eyes, long blonde hair and is well spoken. Both the men were in their early 30s. One was about 5'11" with short dark hair. He wore a faded denim shirt and jeans. The other was taller and had dark curly hair cut short at the sides. He was wearing cream chino trousers and a black polo shirt. One of the things taken was a tea towel identical to this, with the motif Jonathan and Suzanne, January 26, 91. If you've any information or can help with any of our other incident desk cases, please do call.
And once again, this is the number 081 811 8181. 081 811 8181.
Now, though, time for this month's incident desk. Here to take us through it are Detective Constable Jackie Hames and Superintendent David Hatcher.
Craig Swan disappeared about 6 weeks ago and Scottish police now fear he may be dead. He was staying with his parents in Broxburn near Edinburgh and was last seen on Monday morning, the 10th of August. We believe he left the house in his red Datsun car, which was seen later that day about 25 miles away in Easterhouse, near Glasgow. A witness remembers seeing a man and a woman parking Craig's car and walk off, leaving the keys in the ignition. The man was in his early 30s, about 5'7", and walked with a pronounced stoop. The woman was slightly shorter and plump. In the boot of Craig's car were a pair of his shoes, covered in mud. Officers also found this spade and would like to know who it belongs to. Craig was studying for a degree at Southampton University. As part of his studies, he was about to spend a year in Argentina and Brazil. There's no way he'd have vanished of his own free will, so if you have any information, please call us now.
A house in Carlisle, Cumbria was the scene of a robbery on Sunday the 12th of April. Around lunchtime, a man knocked at the door asking to speak to the woman's husband. While she was talking to him, he was joined by 3 other men. They threatened her with a gun and stole cash and jewellery before leaving in a C-registered blue Sierra. It's thought that the registration ended with the letters FGA. The man who knocked on the door is in his late 20s, 5'10", with a soft Scottish accent. Amongst the jewellery they took was a ring and a bracelet, which are unique. Have they been offered to you? If you think you can help in any way, please do ring.
In Sheffield at the beginning of July, a man tried to abduct a 16-year-old girl. She was walking along 20well Lane in the Bradway area of Sheffield when a man in a red car stopped and asked her for directions. As she stood by the car, he tried to pull her inside, threatening her with a knife. She struggled and managed to fight him off, slightly injuring his face. He was in his late 20s or early 30s, 5'10" and well built. He was wearing glasses which might only be used for driving. His accent was not local. If you've any idea who he might be, Sheffield police would like to hear from you before someone gets seriously hurt. Call us now if you can help with any of our incident desk cases.
And here's the number, 081 811 8181. That's 081 811 8181. Well, with appeals now on investigations all over the country, at the incident desk, as usual, are Superintendent David Hatcher and Detective Constable Jackie Hames.
First tonight on Incident Desk, we need your help to identify this man. He's one of several robbers who forced their way into the home of 53-year-old John Glover on the 3rd of September. John had been enjoying a drink with friends at his local pub in West Kingsdown in Kent. He'd just arrived home at 9:30 when he was subjected to an appalling attack on his own doorstep. He was repeatedly hit over the head and lay helpless in the hallway while his house was ransacked. These are just some of the items which are stolen: a naval sword inscribed with the initials PFG, several extremely valuable paintings and silverware, some of which bore this family crest. 2 cars similar to these were seen in the area at the time of the attack and may belong to the robbers. Perhaps you'll recognise one of them. He's between 45 and 50, 5'8", stocky build, clean-shaven with a dark complexion. He was wearing a tweedy-type cap and jacket with a lime green shirt. Mr. Glover was badly shaken up and is still recovering from his injuries, so if you have any information at all, please call us here tonight.
This man may be one of a gang who turned the M4 into a racetrack earlier this year, narrowly avoiding tragedy. On April the 20th, a grey Porsche Carrera was stolen from Linver Road in Fulham. 2 days later, a grey Sierra Cosworth was stolen from Godfrey Davis Limited in Harrow. On Tuesday the 28th of April, both cars went to the Texaco service station in Scrubs Lane, West London. The drivers filled them up with petrol and left without paying. The cars were next seen outside Curry's in Marlborough, Wiltshire, where they were used in a burglary. Thousands of pounds worth of electrical goods were stolen. The gang then drove to Bristol, travelling at speeds of up to 150 miles per hour. The police followed them until the pursuit ended when the Sierra went the wrong way up the M32. The cars were later found abandoned in Bristol, the Sierra here in Staple Hill and the Porsche in Stanley Avenue. Did you see either car between the 20th and the 28th of April? Or better still, do you recognise this man? He's in his late 20s, 5'7" and slim. Ring us if you think you know him.
Do you recognise these 2 men? They're part of a gang who forced their way into a house in Blackpool on Friday evening, the 24th of July, threatening a mother and her 3 children with a gun. The intruders stole a large amount of cash and jewellery before escaping in a light green metallic Ford, similar to this one. It had false number plates, UHG 840Y. The first man's about 29, 5'8", with a stocky build. He had short black hair and wore a black baseball cap, a blue denim jacket and a dark t-shirt. The second man was older, about 35, also 5'8", with short fair hair and a pale complexion. He was wearing a light blue shirt and, curiously, his left hand was completely covered with a cream bandage. If you know who they are, please ring.
Thousands of cars drive past here every day. It's the junction of Gravel Hill and Regent's Park Road, North London. If you were here on the afternoon of Thursday the 27th of August, you may have information which could help us investigate a violent sexual assault. It was about 3:45 when a woman driving a Honda Accord stopped at these traffic lights. A man in the car and threatening her with a knife made her drive about 6 miles to a disused industrial estate. From here, she doesn't know where exactly she was taken, but remembers driving up an unmade road or track to a secluded place. There was a 1 or 2 story workshop, garage or warehouse, which had a gable roof with possibly a round window or sign at the front, and it was within easy earshot of a busy main road. Do you know where it could be? She was so shocked and confused she couldn't remember driving home, but sometime that afternoon her car was badly damaged. Did you see what happened? The man who assaulted her is 30 to 40, 5'8" to 5'11", stocky but not overweight. He was generally scruffy and wore jeans, a t-shirt and a pair of sunglasses. If you can help with this, or any of our other cases, please do call.
There's the number, 081 811 8181, 081 811 8181.
But now with more cases on our incident desk, here are Superintendent David Hatcher and Detective Constable Jackie Hames.
A police check on the M6 near Penrith turned out to be more than just routine. The officers found 2 men who'd been bound and gagged, lying on their back seat of their car. Minutes earlier, they had been the victims of a robbery. It was 9:30 on Thursday evening, the 27th of August, and the businessmen had been travelling through Cumbria towards Glasgow when they were forced off the road by a blue 3 Series BMW. It happened a few miles north of the T-Bay services on the M6 motorway. 4 people got out of the BMW. One was a woman who threatened the passenger with a handgun. She was white, in her 40s, slim with blonde hair. At the same time, a man, also white and in his 40s, attacked the driver, smashing his window and punching him in the face, breaking his jaw. These robbers were joined by 2 black male accomplices, both masked, and the victims were forced to hand over jewellery worth £50,000. It's very distinctive and marked with 916 or RRJ. Have you been offered any? Or do you recognise the robbers? If so, call the incident desk direct on 0768 217 180.
Next tonight, an appalling sex attack on a 6-year-old girl. If you were in Bristol on Thursday afternoon, the 10th of September, you might have seen something. Brandon Hill is a large park area in the heart of the city centre and is a favourite place for many people to visit. At 5:30, a nanny brought 3 children here. After a picnic, they decided to play hide and seek. The game was to turn to horror as the little girl fell victim to a sex attack. We'd like to talk to this man who was seen in the area at the time. He was carrying a black camera and is around 5'10" with a slim build. He's in his late 30s, early 40s and has light brown hair which is greying at the sides. He was wearing a green cotton shirt and a brown bomber jacket. The child is now slowly recovering from her ordeal. If you think you recognise the man or can help, the incident room number is 0272 455 055.
Do you recognise these men? Police in Strathclyde would like to speak to them in connection with the murder of 33-year-old Abdul Manir in Helensburgh near Glasgow. Abdul had worked at the Lomond Tandoori restaurant in Sinclair Street since May. On Tuesday the 4th of August, he'd gone to work as usual. At about 6 p.m, he had to collect food from the store at the back of the restaurant. To get there, he had to walk through this alleyway. When he failed to return, a worried colleague went to look for him. Abdul had been stabbed. We're anxious to find 3 men who were seen in the area at the time. This man was seen at about 5:45. He's between 30 to 40, heavily built, with a moustache and was wearing a black shirt. He was seen sitting in a silver or grey car parked opposite the restaurant. The second man is also 30 to 40 and about 5'10". He was wearing a white shirt and black trousers with a maroon bow tie and a brown or tan bomber jacket. He was walking along Sinclair Street between 5:30 and 6 p.m. The third man was seen about half an hour later. He's also 30 to 40, of medium build, with black hair and wore similar clothes. He was walking a few yards away from the restaurant at the junction of Sinclair Street and West Clyde Street. If you do know them, the incident room number is 0389 63311.
Gerard's menswear shop in Reigate High Street in Surrey was the scene of an unusual armed robbery on Thursday the 15th of October. Instead of money, the target was designer clothes. 4 men went into the shop just after opening time. They looked at the clothes and then one of the men pulled out a gun, threatening the manager. The staff could only watch as the clothes were bundled into sacks. Parked at the back of the shop was a white transit van waiting to take the goods away. The man with the gun was big, late 20s to early 30s and well over 6 foot tall. The second man was also tall and he too was well built. He looked scruffy. By the transit was in his mid-40s and once again broad-shouldered. The fourth member of the group was in his mid-20s and wore tortoise-shell glasses. He was smaller and slimmer than the others. All the clothing had one of these labels sewn inside. The men took nearly 300 items from overcoats to jeans. Perhaps you've been offered a Boss cashmere coat like this at a knockdown price. If you can help in any way, ring the police on 0737 765 040.
And of course, for all our cases tonight, you can ring the studio direct. Here's the number, 081 811 8181. 081 811 8181.